Once upon a time, in the land of Titania, there lived two princesses who loved to play together in the Black Forest. One day, while walking through the woods, they came across a most mysterious sight. It was a cake growing out of the ground. Enticed by the frosting-covered wonder, the princesses could not resist a quick taste, followed by a bite, and then a whole slice. In the blink of an eye, the princesses were overwhelmed by the intense yumminess. From the nearby bushes, a small furry creature emerged, and then another and another. Soon dozens of the furry forest folk gathered around the princesses. Blissfully unaware of the danger surrounding them, the princesses continued to stuff their faces with the ummy-nummy cake. Om nom 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 indeed. And in the blink of an eye, and much to their cake-feasting dismay, the princesses were gone. Hours later, when the princesses failed to return home, the kings became worried and sent search parties into the forest. And so, without hesitation, the soldiers marched off into the forest.
Here's an oddball game for you all today. It's another one that came recommended to me from Mortal Porcupine, our resident portable gaming guru. I had played this game previously on the PlayStation 3, known there simply as Fat Princess, and I remember dabbling with Fistful of Cake, although not much more than that. So here we are 6 years after the game's original 2010 release date, and well, how does it hold up? Before we jump into the game itself, I have to mention something that I would have mentioned back in 2010, and that is that Fistful of Cake is an exact port of the PlayStation 3 version. It does include a wide assortment of new features, such as 5 new maps, 2 new gameplay modes, and a single-player story mode called Legend of the Fat Princess. That's all good stuff. However, there were also a lot of limitations in this version compared to the PlayStation 3 original, stuff like not being able to invite your friends to the game, no voice chat, and the number of players was reduced from 32 to 8. The reality is that today, online play really isn't going to be an issue either way, as I don't expect many people to be playing online with a 6-year-old game, if they're even able to. It's important to make this distinction though, as I went into this game primarily looking at it from the single-player perspective. I don't know a single person that still uses their PSP, let alone would have this game to try out any multiplayer features at all. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to give you my opinion of Fistful of Cake strictly looking at it from the perspective of the Legend of the Fat Princess mode. So, you've been warned. With that disclaimer out of the way, how does the game actually play? Well, for starters, the game is essentially a giant game of capture the flag. In its prime, the online portions are what made this such a unique experience. The gameplay in the original game was essentially broken up like this. You had 2 teams, red and blue. Each team starts with the other team's princess locked up. The objective is to rescue your princess and bring them back to your castle and throw them on the throne. Doing so rewards victory. However, while the princess is captive, you can feed her, which increases her weight dramatically. While 1 soldier can carry her when she's super skinny, you might need 8 soldiers to carry her when she starts packing on the pounds. This is what made Fat Princess, and for the most part, that's what Fistful of Cake was all about too. I should also point out that many people found the game to be terribly offensive. The developer said it was all in good humor and good fun, but I figured I'd mention that just the same. So now you know the general gameplay. Let's talk a little bit about the finer details. Scattered around your base are special machines that spit out magical hats, which grant you the ability to transform into one of the game's 6 available classes. You can turn into a warrior, ranger, mage, etc. Switching classes is as simple as just picking up a new hat. There are also workers that are out harvesting resources to improve your class machines. Once enough resources have been collected and the class machines upgrade, you unlock more powerful forms of the standard classes. This might be just, say, a warrior that has a better weapon. Local multiplayer is clearly where the game would shine today, but unfortunately that is an extremely hard hurdle to overcome in 2016, as I already mentioned. So that means you're left with a single player mode. which is where all the bots come into play. Here you have a short story that introduces you to this unique world, and then you're off to complete whatever mission objectives you've been tasked with. This might be to locate your princess, feed the princess by finding cake scattered around the environment, and much, much more. Essentially, the single-player mode works like an extended tutorial for the multiplayer, which has long since lost its player base. So while I told you that I would base this review on the single-player portion, that's not entirely true because I know what the multiplayer experience is like, which is fantastic. It's just finding the players to play with that is the true challenge. The audio-visual presentation is top-notch. It's ridiculous how gory this game is when it looks so damn cute on the outside, but make no mistake about it, there's ample amounts of blood in this game. Ultimately, the game is a hard one to recommend today unless you have a lot of friends with PSPs and copies of the game. 4-on-4 matches were a blast to play back in the day, but even then, the matches were never quite as interesting as they were on the PS3 because those 32 players were just not available, so instead they were replaced with bots, which were nowhere near as good as real people. If you have the friends with the proper setup, Fat Princess Fistful of Cake can be an excellent outing. But if you're gonna play this for the single player mode alone, I personally feel you're playing through more of an advanced tutorial than a full-fledged video game. That being said, the game can be had for $4 these days, so if you like what you're seeing here, by all means go and give it a go.
The enemy have captured an outpost.